Hi there, I'm Virginia Lindsay of Ginger Cake Patterns and Design, and today I want to share with you how I mix and match my scraps into a really pretty fabric canvas to make projects out of. I've been doing this for years. I love mixing scraps together, and here's a couple of things. This is a duffel I made many years ago for my kids, and they used it and loved it, as you can tell. Here's a big floor pillow I made with yellow scraps, and this is a really great way to use up your fabrics and to create something really unique that shows your own style and your own character and the fabrics that you love. So follow along and I'll show you the essentials of creating projects like this. Okay, the first thing I suggest is that you have some kind of a poster board. This is like a stiff foam board. And this is so that when you create your mixes here, you can easily transport it over to your sewing machine. So I'm using one of these bundles that I made from Rotary. I showed you how I did this in a video a couple weeks ago, and I'll put the link there for you. But essentially, what's great about these mixes, and you can do this with your own fabrics, is that this is a mixture of 3 types of fabric. Now I do mine all kind of in one color scheme, but you definitely don't have to do this. You can do it. You can start with you can mix in all the different colors that you'd like. So what I'm doing right now is dividing these. When I made these bundles, I put 3 different types of fabric in them. They're all yellow cotton fabrics. And then I divide them into 3 groups. I have my solids, my like little stripes, and my big things. And this is an essential way of designing, and it's called mixing textures. Kind of start with your big bold fabrics, and I'm going to just start with this one right here. And then I mix in from my other 2 piles. The light texture with the solids. I'm going to find a good solid, or this is also considered a light texture. It's like a very lightly, a really small plaid. But let's find a good, this is just a plain yellow right here. We're going to mix with this like that. And then I'm going to add sort of a medium texture to it also. A nice polka dot. How about this one? Okay, a nice little stripe. Okay, so can you see that these 3 together are really appealing? There's some things happening here, not a lot. The main focus is right here, and these 2 are like supporting actors to the star of the show. And then you kind of continue to build. Now don't worry too much right now that this is smaller than these 2. We're going to kind of remedy that in a few minutes. I'm also thinking about size, the size of things. I don't want anything too big that's going to overwhelm all the other ones, and I don't want anything too small that's going to get hidden. Another thing that I'm working on is kind of creating, I don't want seams to be lined up. I want there to be a real random look to things. So the next thing we would do, so again I have a bold texture here, a bold texture here, a bold one down here and here, and then I have mixed in my lighter textures. So you can see I've mixed in, I have all these little sections I've created. And the way that we sew it together will be, I'm going to kind of space things out here. I'm going to make little sections, okay? These 2 are a section, so I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and sew these 2 together like this. So that would be the first section, and then these 2 are a section. And you're like, oh, well, how are you supposed to make do with that? Well, you need to just kind of cut it off. You need to square things up so that it works better for you. Okay, and then I would cut this off right here You can do this with your straight edge and your rotary cutter if you'd like. And then, so that's a section right there, those two. So I'm going to sew those two together, then I'm going to sew those two together, and then I have a little section right here. These three, those were our original pieces we put together. I'm going to sew these two together, and then I'm going to take those two and sew them like this. So that'll be one complete section. Then this will be a section of my scraps. Then I would sew these two together, this and this, that, and then sew the four of them together. I have that all folded up because that's a much bigger piece, but I folded it up to make it fit right there because I like how that looks. And then finally I would sew these three pieces together. And once I have that done, I'll come back and show you. Then you would put this and this together, and then you would add this to the bottom. See, so then you'd have that section. Then you would add this to the side like that. Then you would add these two together and then add that whole section to this. And then finally you would add this section to the whole piece. So I hope that makes sense. And I'll come back and show you how it's kind of come together after a few minutes. Okay, so as you can see, I just brought my whiteboard right over here next to my sewing machine so I don't get anything mixed up. There's no like moving around or anything like that. And I just have my pieces together. You don't really have to worry about back stitching or pinning, as long as you just stay organized right here. We just easily do our little sections. You could chain stitch, but I don't really recommend doing that with when you're mixing scraps this way because you can get things mixed up. Okay, so I made some changes as I was putting things together. I have this nice big block and this one. Now over here, I had this big piece, and I just didn't like how it went. Like, it just is too much white. Can you see that those don't go well together? So instead, I added this, and I'm going to add some yellow, some darker yellow up here, and that sort of brings things, you know, sort of ties things together a little bit better. Okay, friends, here is the finished piece. So a couple things I want to point out. I had to make changes, and this is what always happens when you're putting together things like this. I had to add this extra strip over here because I didn't want to lose any of this down here, and it turned out that this top part was shorter than this. I had to cut back some of this and add some extra, and I flipped it around because I didn't want seams lining up. This is kind of like, you know, putting bricks together. See, I don't want like seams and that you have, you know, big color here and a big focal point here and over here, and then I have my butterflies here. So, you know, I could have done a little bit better job and taken that butterfly fabric and made it, you know, one of the prettier butterflies right there. I wish I had done that. And I also wish that I had turned this piece around so that these girls were facing up, but it's still, I think as a whole piece, it looks great. And it's ready to be made into a duffel bag or a pillow, or I can continue adding on and make it into a really cute baby quilt. There's so many things to do. Okay, friends, all done. And here is the final piece. It's really fun to do this. I hope you get to try it. Also, I would love to hear how you mix and match scrap fabrics and what you do in this kind of situation. I know I have some experienced sewing friends out there who watch these videos, so please comment and tell me what your tips are, and be sure to read those comments, you guys, after you watch this video, because there are a lot of experienced people out there who know a lot of good tips. Please subscribe to the channel, and I'll be putting some new things up soon. So thanks for watching. Bye-bye.